Hi, I'm Sergeant Rick Munder. Welcome to another edition of Monterey Park Police Department in the Community. Today we're here with Sergeant Scott Weiss. Thanks for coming in.
No problem, Rick.
And we're going to talk about a couple of topics that relate to traffic, specifically school safety and DUI. But before we jump into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been here and what you do for the police department here?
I'm the Bureau Commander for the Traffic Bureau, and in traffic we're responsible for crossing guards, any kind of accident investigation, DUI enforcement. We have the motor officers assigned to us in there and the parking officers. So it's a pretty big bureau, and we handle a lot of things out in the field. And at some point during the day, people in the city have seen my people out there working, I'm sure.
Undoubtedly. Good deal. Well, let's jump into this school safety topic and get on that. I know we're a little late in the school season, but this pertains to next year as well for everybody that's going to be going back to school.
Not just the current school year, but there are some schools that are going to be doing summer school.
Right.
The college also has some impact with this, as well as next school year, and we're trying to get ahead of the game so that the parents and anybody driving through those school zones will know what to expect.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's start off with how is school area safety different than other areas of the city?
Other areas of the city, it depends on if you're in a residential area, in a business district, in one of the main thoroughfares. All of those have a specific problem or a specific traffic nexus to them. In the schools, we bring a lot of things together. We have kids that are walking and riding bicycles to school. We have parents that are dropping off their kids and sometimes dropping them off in a rush because their parents are running late or the kids are running late. And then we have the added factor of people driving through those school zones to go from one area to the other. We've stepped up enforcement, and we have real specific things that happen there that everybody needs to be aware of.
Okay. What can a student do to be safe while en route to school?
Well, the best thing a student can do is figure out the route they're going to take from home to school and make sure it's a safe route. The schools will help with that, and the police department obviously will help with that. But we want the students to be able to have a safe environment once they leave their homes all the way to school and back again. They need to understand those routes. They need to adhere to the safety rules. They need to follow the traffic laws. And that kind of pertains to them walking on the sidewalk, staying out of the street, don't run out into traffic, don't cross the street. Sometimes kids get kind of wrapped up in their own life as they're going to school, seeing their friend across the street, and they may jet out into traffic. And a driver in the area may not see that happen, and we may have a vehicle-pedestrian collision. And that's what we're trying to avoid.
Right.
If they're on bicycles, they need to understand the rules of bicycles about staying off the sidewalk, riding with the flow of traffic, wearing a helmet. And a helmet's a big thing. Just last week on Friday, I responded to two traffic collisions where bicyclists were versus vehicles. And you know that if you bring a bicycle and a vehicle together, no matter whose fault it is, the bicyclist is going to end up on the bottom of that pile.
Right.
And helmets will save kids' lives, and helmets are the law. And any kid under 18 has to wear a helmet.
Right. Let me back you up real quick. You mentioned something about crossing the street, and I know that at the majority, if not all, of the schools in the city, we have crossing guards. We recommend that the kids cross where the crossing guards are posted. Absolutely.
And crossing guards are a great tool for the city to maintain safety around the schools. The guards are specially trained, and the laws apply to those intersections where guards are present, and fines are increased for drivers that violate the rules. The kids need to pay attention to the crossing guard. The crossing guard will stop traffic for them, and once the crossing guard gives the okay, then the kid can safely cross the street. On the other side of that coin is, if there's no crossing guard present, it doesn't mean the kids can't cross, but they need to be overly sure that what they're doing is safe.
Right.
Because there are some schools in our city that have only one or maybe two crossing guards, but there are places there for the kids to cross the street.
Right.
So it's important that they pay attention to the traffic around them.
Just wanted to make sure people got that out as well, that's probably, you're talking about planning a route to and from school, that's probably your best place.
Absolutely. If you can safely get to school and cross a major thoroughfare across the street to school using a crossing guard, that's the most important, and that's probably the safest route you could take.
Right. What should drivers be aware of if they drive through school zones in the city?
Well, a school zone is a very hectic place, and you can ask any driver who's been through our city. We have 16 different schools in town. Between the hours of 7:30 and 8 o'clock, it becomes very congested around our schools. Drivers that have to transit that area to go from point A to point B need to be aware that there's going to be congestion, for one.
Right.
And they need to be patient and plan their route accordingly so that if they get stuck in that traffic, they don't become frustrated.
Right.
They need to be aware that there may be kids that come out from between cars to run across the street. And that gets back to the kids being safe. The drivers also have to be aware that some of these kids don't think about the consequences of running out into the street.
Right.
So as a driver, you need to keep your speed down. All our school zones are posted 25 miles an hour, but there may be times when that 25 miles hour speed limit is decreased because of the amount of activity. So it's really incumbent upon a driver not just to be looking at what's going on in front of them, but to be aware of the total surroundings. Obviously stay off the cell phone because that's against the law now too. No texting, pay attention to the road, look for the things that are going to come out from between cars, and try to anticipate and plan your route so that you have time to get through our school zone safely and you don't have to rush.
Give me, and that's really good advice, give me real quick a tip on drivers that are entering an intersection with a crossing guard who's in the street. They obviously have to wait until the crossing guard and the kids are back. My question is, and this came up several times, the crossing guard is crossing kids across the street and then continues with the kids to the other side of the street. At what point can the driver make a right-hand turn?
If a driver is going to, at any point, impact the crosswalk that driver is in, or that crossing guard is in, they need to wait for the crossing guard to leave the intersection. So if a crossing guard enters the intersection with his sign up, and you're going to make a right turn to kind of travel behind the route of the crossing guard, you need to wait until that crossing guard is to the other side of the street and he's no longer occupying the crosswalk. Okay.
That's good. That's what we're trying to get at, because that question's come up several times in the Citizens Academy that we do. So that's good. What should parents be aware of when dropping off and picking up their children from the schools?
Well, most importantly, the parents have to understand that, I understand that they're in a rush sometimes. They need to plan out their morning and plan out their day so that they're not in a rush. We have found that when the parents need to get someplace or need to get their kids to school and they're running a little late, they tend to ignore some of the safety rules and some of the vehicle code sections that apply. Try to plan your route to school with your child so that you're dropping your child off on the same side of the street that the school is on. All of the schools in our city have what we call a valet lane.
Right.
And that valet lane was developed so that parents would have a safe place to pull up, have their kid get out of the car, usually under the supervision of a teacher or some kind of student helper, and then have the kid go to school safely. And the valet lane's designed so the parents only have to wait maybe 15 or 20 seconds while they're in that lane to get the kids out of the car. It's a very, very safe way to offload the kids. We encourage all of our parents to plan their route so they can use that valet lane. If for some reason they can't, or they're picking up their kids, they need to designate a drop-off area that they can safely pull over and stop. If you pull over to a red curb and unload your passengers, that's the same as parking in the red curb, and you're subject to a citation for that. And we get a lot of parents that get tickets for dropping off in the red. So they have to plan their approach and plan their pickup better so they have more time.
Okay. Now, if anyone's got any more questions regarding where the crossing guards are posted, a safe route, you'd mentioned they can call the police department. What would be a good number for them to get a hold of your bureau for questions that they have answered or they need answers to?
The Traffic Bureau you can reach us at 626-307-1240. You can call dispatch or records, any number within the police department, and they'll eventually send you up to Traffic Bureau. But that's our direct line. You can leave us a message or speak to someone there, and we have someone in our office every day from 6 a.m. to about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday.
Good deal. And if you ever need any questions answered, or if they need any questions answered, you guys can always call Community Relations, my bureau, at 626-307-1215, and we'd be happy to either get you the answer or get you up to traffic and have one of your folks or even you answer the question for them.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, let's move on to your second topic that we have here.